Welcome to the Hateful Hitman Podcast. Brought to you by Hitman Fantasy Productions. Premier football coverage from college to NFL to fantasy and everything in between. And now, from the Hitman's Hideout, here's your host, Chris Strasbaugh.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back into the Hateful Hitman Podcast. My name is Chris Strasbaugh. This is the kickoff to Season 5 of the Hateful Hitman Podcast. A season in which I hope my health and time and energy is up to speed and I can do more podcasting and I can get back into the flow and the rhythm. As many of you know, COVID hit me pretty hard. It zapped a lot of stuff out of me, and still to this day, you know, March the 6th, it was October when I had it, and it's changed me. My taste, my sense of taste isn't what it used to be. Everything tastes different, and I'm not sure that it's ever going to be the way that it used to. It took a while for me to get my voice back up to what it used to be. I couldn't talk with long periods of time without losing my breath and having to stop and drink. And so I had to focus on just kind of letting it get better before I could actually, you know, do some things that are my hobby and my passion and stuff like that. But this isn't a pity party. This isn't a woe is me. This is the kickoff to Season 5 of the Hitman Podcast, and I got a special one for you today. I've never done this in the history of the podcast because I don't like to tip my hand, and I don't like to, you know, show what cards I'm holding, but for the first time ever, I am doing a Devy Rankings episode, pre-draft before we actually hold our individual Devy draft. I've never done this because, like I said, I don't like people knowing where I'm thinking, you know, and then coming in and stealing my guys. But I thought, what better way to kick off a new season? We got a lot of stuff to talk about before we even get to my Devy players for 2022. So let's talk about some current events.
Here's what we know.
This was NFL Combine weekend. The Combine actually just finished up just a few moments ago on the NFL Network. The defensive backs and special teams are replaying right now on the NFL Network. If you had the chance to check out any of the Combine, it was good to get back to some sense of normalcy and to see the young men out, you know, competing and, you know, doing their first, you know, basically their job interviews. And, you know, we had the privilege, Kane Harder, Doug Harder, and myself, we actually went down to the scouting combine 5 years ago, and it has changed immensely since then. I mean, the format's different. The participation by the fans is different. You know, we weren't allowed to speak. We weren't allowed to talk. We had to keep our. They told us before we went into the arena to, you know, whisper amongst ourselves and don't holler at the fans and don't holler at not the fans. Don't holler at the, you know, the players that are participating in the combine, and, you know, don't hoot and holler when someone runs a good 40. You know, keep it to a minimum. And now it's like the opposite. The format's changed. The running backs are on Friday nights now. The quarterbacks actually throw on Thursday. Saturday's the D-line and the linebackers, and then Sunday finishes it all up with the defensive backs, which used to be on Monday. So the format's changed and everything. But if you had a chance to watch the wide receivers run, you were treated to some serious speed. And I actually posted some of it on social media. Some of the top 10 speed receivers, you know, that ran the 40. And that wasn't even scratching the surface. I mean, there was another 10 or 15 guys that just all ran so fast, and you could just see the talent, and then they're going through their drills and catching passes, and this goes for the running backs too as well. Unless they were, terrible overthrows by the quarterbacks, these guys were catching just about everything. And when it came to the running backs the other night, that in their passing drills, they didn't drop hardly. I think maybe I saw 2 or 3 drops in the wheel routes and in the flat passes and stuff. These guys all caught the ball very well as far as running backs and receivers go. And if you want to talk quarterbacks for a minute here, I mean, Malik Willis's arm strength is legit. It's the real deal. It's as advertised. Carson Strong as well had a very good showing. I got to toot the horn for the little guy here a little bit. I thought Bailey Zappi performed very well at the combine. I thought he did enough to he didn't hurt himself. Let's put it that way. So there's a lot to be excited about leading up to pro days here soon, and then the draft is under a month away, and we've got a lot to get excited about. So what better time to kick off season 5 of the Hitman podcast than right now? As soon as the combine wraps up, we're going to start talking Devy here in just a little bit, and pretty excited. We've still got the new NFL season, which hasn't officially renewed. It won't renew for another, 5 or 6 or 8 days or something like that. And the two main storylines right now are Amari Cooper and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers says he's torn being the word in quotation marks that I'm seeing everywhere and reading about. And he's torn on whether he wants to leave or stay in Green Bay. They're looking at, restructuring contracts and stuff like that. I'm not going to weigh in on that until it actually happens. And then I'll formulate an opinion and go from there. The Amari Cooper saga, latest news is Dallas will try to trade their number 1 wide receiver before the new season starts, or he will be released, because once the new season starts, he gets $20 million or something like that. So they will look to trade him, or he will just be given his outright release. To me, this is looking at it from the financial side. I see it. I see Dallas is trying to, free up some money because he's not old. I mean, if you look at him, he's been in the league forever, but he came in the league very, very young. So he's not as old as he is perceived just because he's been around for a while. Of course, he was with the Raiders, then he came to Dallas. But if there's going to be a market for him, and the Dallas Cowboys should be able to get something for him as opposed to just giving him his outright release. So what does that mean for the Cowboys? Well, that means CeeDee Lamb, stock up. I would also assume, assumption being what it is, that they will find a way to re-sign Michael Gallup and bring him back. Ontario Wilson. Don't think that's his first name. I think I messed that up. But Wilson could play himself up into a bigger role. It's Cedric Wilson. That was driving me insane. It wasn't Ontario Wilson. Ontario Wilson was a wide receiver for the Florida State Seminoles. I'm rusty, folks. I'm rusty. This is knocking the rust off for me as well, being here behind the mic. But we'll soldier on. Cedric Wilson, stock up, unless they bring in someone like Allen Robinson, who there's some buzz in the trees that they may be interested in bringing him in. Definitely would be okay with that. That would be something that if they can get him cheaper, because if they're going to pay him what they're paying Cooper, obviously you'd think they could get him to come in cheaper. That would be okay. But if you're going to pay him the same amount, you might as well figure out a way to keep Cooper. We have a lot going on in the world of sports right now. Like I said, the Combine just finished up. I mean, we've got sports taking off all over the place. We've got NCAA March Madness will be coming up. The conference championships, the conference tournaments will be kicking off this coming week. Last night in Durham, North Carolina Tar Heels upset the Duke Blue Devils in Coach K's final game in Cameron Indoor Stadium. I, as a Tar Heel fan, thought that was lovely. I enjoyed that game, and what a really tough game the Tar Heels played. They had to play their guts out in order to come out and win that game, and they did it. And at the end of the game, they just steamrolled over Duke. Once they got the momentum and Duke knew they were beat, the score of the game, a little closer, obviously, than the final projected. But if you watched that game at all, and I watched almost the whole entire game, UNC fought and fought and fought, and they really wanted that game more than Duke did. But that rivalry, that Duke-North Carolina rivalry that goes back, years and years, is something that is iconic. And, Roy Williams was able to harness that when he picked up, where Dean Smith left off. And he was able to harness it and recreate it and keep that alive. I don't know that the same could be said, because Mike Krzyzewski is an iconic coach. I mean, you can talk about him up there with maybe the best of all time. There are some arguments, as to who the best college basketball coach of all time is, but he's definitely top 3. And yeah, it hurts to say, but all respect given, the man is a true legend and a true genius of the game, and all respect to him on that regard. I can't stand the school, I can't stand the players. That makes me sick, but you have to respect. And he has earned and commanded respect. So, to that, I won't say I'm going to miss him, but it will be different, him not being in charge of, because, he's been the coach of Duke ever since I've been watching college basketball, going clear back to Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley and all those guys. When I first started watching college basketball, he's been their guy ever since. So, a fixture, not just for Duke fans, but for college basketball fans alike. So, that was his last game. They could still meet again, obviously, if things work out in the ACC tournament. They could still play one more time. But Duke obviously headed into the NCAA tournament, as is North Carolina. So Duke isn't done. It was just a little bit. It was just a little fun, watching UNC spoil the party with all the alumni and everything that was on site last night there in Cameron. And UNC went in and spoiled the party, and that was fun to watch. And you're happy for those kids because they fought and fought and fought. More sporting taking off. The Florida State women's college softball team is off to a fantastic start. They're looking at 19-0, and it may be 20. I know they won again yesterday. They play again today. It's either something like 18 or 19 or 20-0 to start the season. They are on a tear, and they also beat all those ranked teams in the Clearwater tournament there last weekend. Beat the number 3 team, UCLA. And that team is really, really good. I really can't wait to see just how far they go and what they do this season. College baseball's underway. The NBA. Oh, wait, that's right. I don't talk about the NBA. Major League Baseball is on a lockout. That's a bummer because, it would be starting here really, really soon. It would be really deep into spring training and stuff like that right now. But they're on a lockout. Looks like we're going to miss at least the first month of the baseball season. Just when we put this COVID crap behind us and a shortened season there 2 years ago, and we had a season, last year that was really good to have the baseball and fans and stuff back, and now we got this lockout to deal with. It's disappointing. On to the meat of the show. This is the first time I've done this. I have for you 5 Devy quarterbacks, 5 Devy wide receivers, 5 Devy running backs that you should target not only in redraft, but if they are available in your leagues where you are established and just redrafting players. Some of these guys may be available, some of them might not. But wait, there's more. I have, on top of those names, 10 more names to know that you should write down or put in your memory bank or text yourself or whatever. Not to mention, if I still have time, a 7-name rapid-fire session. I'm going to fire 7 names at you that you can just write down and put into your brain box for your Devy drafts. Some of these are playing the long game. Some of these names are guys that are going to be done this year. Some of them are younger. Some of them are worth the stash. And I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to go quarterbacks first because this seems to be, from what I'm listening and reading and stuff on, it seems to be a position that several Devy enthusiasts are fading simply because quarterbacks are so hard to predict going into the NFL. And I've said this before. People ask me before, how do you rate quarterbacks? Well, I watch quarterbacks play in big games. I watch what they do. I don't watch what they do against Bethune-Cookman. No offense to Bethune-Cookman, but I watch what they do against bigger schools. And if they play good against top-level competition, well, that's all you can go on until you get them in the combine, get them on a team, and actually see what they can do for the NFL. Our league, our Devy league, the Devy Hitmen, it's a 2-quarterback system. So our stock and our value in quarterbacks is always going to be high because we start 2 quarterbacks every week. So quarterbacks for us are higher than they may be for you if you're just a 1-quarterback system or whatever. But the top 2 names right here are real easy. And are they available to you in Devy redrafts? No, probably not. And if they are, somebody's been sleeping. And that's Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Now, I got Bryce Young 1, Stroud 2, just because I really like his opportunity at the next level. I still want one more year of C.J. Stroud to really see, and I'll be the first to admit he started out rough last year for the Buckeyes. Took him a little bit to get adjusted, and why wouldn't it? It was his first year as a starting quarterback in college. It's going to take a while. But by the end of the season, this guy was as good as any other college quarterback in the country. So I got them 1 and 2. I got Bryce Young 1, C.J. Stroud 2, and there's like a little space right there, okay? Because then my next 3 guys that I have here for aren't necessarily a step down or a tier down, but there's a level of competition that separates 1 and 2 for me between 3, 4, and 5. So Bryce Young 1, C.J. Stroud 2, and you can flip them just as easy as anything, And if those guys are available to you in your Devy leagues and your drafts, and you're in a 2-quarterback system, and you're at the front end, you should think about trying to grab one of those guys pretty quick because they're not going to make it back to you. Now, those aren't the top overall Devy players. I'll get to that here as I get through that. I'm going to go through these quarterbacks here, 3, 4, and 5. And 3 for me is Caleb Williams. Obviously he's 6'1", 210. I wouldn't mind seeing him be an inch or 2 taller, but 6'1" is not going to kill him in the NFL. He's got good size. What we don't know is really what we don't know. Okay, we had that big cluster in Oklahoma last year where Spencer Rattler lost the job to Caleb Williams, and Williams came in and was fantastic, and then he wasn't fantastic. And then all of a sudden he transfers out, which I didn't see that coming. He may have known, his coach was leaving, so he was going with his coach, which is what ended up what happened. Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma, goes to USC. Caleb Williams follows him there. but it's worth the shot. Okay, I wouldn't take him 101, 102, 103. Okay, if you're at the second half of the first round and you're looking for a quarterback, he's definitely the guy to get. Number 4 for me, and this is the complete unknown. And I wanted to have him at number 5, but number 5 for me is a little bit of the unknown as well. But 4 is completely unknown. And I got him at 4 just because I want all that Texas smoke right now. I got Quinn Ewers, freshman quarterback at Texas, transferred from Ohio State after he pulled the old whoop-de-doo on the state of Texas back in the day and left because he didn't want to play and blah, 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 blah. And then he opts back and goes back to Texas. Now I want all that smoke. I want all that Texas that I can get. He's obviously, well, I can't say obviously, but I mean, you would think that he's going to be the quarterback. Week 1, against whoever they play, I don't know who Texas plays. I don't know everything. But he's going to be the guy. Casey Thompson transferred out. Hudson Card wasn't very good when he played for Casey Thompson. So he's inheriting all that smoke in Texas. Number 5 for me is Jackson Dart, and he's a transfer. Okay, he uproots, he leaves USC, and he ends up at Ole Miss to replace Matt Corral. They're similar, him and Matt Corral. Similar skill set. They can run a little bit. You know, Jackson Dart has a little bit of wow feature to him, and going down and playing for Ole Miss is not a bad thing. Playing there for Lane Kiffin. I like Jackson Dart this year. I like him as a potential at the next level. That's what this podcast is all about. It's about our Devy. We're not worried about, we want them to translate. We want these guys to translate to the next level. Translating to the next level also lets us translate to the next position, and I'm going to go with running backs next, and I want to tie the first guy in with one of my quarterbacks, and the number 1 running back for me, and it's not even close, it's like 1, and then there's a couple of spots, it's Bijan Robinson out of the University of Texas. I know he got hurt last year at the end of the season. I think it was a foot injury, but it doesn't seem to be anything serious. He's going to be back, and did he show you what he could do? I mean, all he did was just week in and week out. I had him in my college to Canton League, and on my college side, and he won me weeks. And unfortunately, I don't have him in our Devy League. He was taken up by guess who? Brian Wickham, of course. Brian Wickham, if you're listening to this, you got me. He wouldn't trade him to me. I tried and tried and tried. Bijan Robinson, to me, is not only the number 1 running back, but he's also the 101 in Devy drafts. If you're doing startups, if you're listening to this and you're about to do a startup in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and you got the first pick overall, it's Bijan Robinson, and it's not even remotely worth debating. Take Bijan Robinson and be glad that you did. Bijan Robinson linked with Quinn Ewers. This is what I said. All that smoke in Texas, I'm trying to gather it everywhere I can. Because they have a young wide receiver that's on my top 5 list, I'll get to him in a minute, that it all works well together. But number 2, and this pains me because I have 2 and 3 so close that it's really hard to separate. But number 2 for me is Travion Henderson, and he is going to be a little bit of a hold in your Devy leagues because he is only going to be a sophomore. But he came in to Ohio State last year and just took that job. And it was clear to see why he was the best running back on that team. And you could put him up there with Kenneth Walker and say maybe he was the best running back in the Big Ten as a freshman. And the sky's up. The sky's only going to go up for this guy. C.J. Stroud, getting him the ball, and he can catch the ball a little bit. I don't think he's going to catch the ball as well as my number 3 guy, which is Jamar Gibbs, who is making a transfer from Georgia Tech to Alabama. I think when he made the move to Alabama, stock went up. I think he's going to be able to showcase, because let's face it, people watch Alabama football more than they watch Georgia Tech football. This move to me for him was very, very smart. And I've been in conversations with people. Brian Wickham and myself have talked about the transfer portal for 4 or 5 years now, and I wasn't a big fan of the transfer portal, but I am allowed to change my mind. And now, because if the transfer portal works for your team, then why not like it? Look what it's done for my Noles for the past couple of seasons. It's done wonders. Their quarterback, their running backs, wide receivers. They got a defensive guy who's probably going to go in the top 10 or 12 picks of the NFL draft transferred in. So, yeah, if it works for you, how can you be mad at it? So, I've seen the light. But Jamar Gibbs transfers from Georgia Tech, goes to Alabama. I think stock up for him. More national spotlight. I mean, look at the running backs that have come out of Alabama. I'm not going to go down the list. I don't have to go down the list because you already know them all. To me, Gibbs is easily better than Brian Robinson, who was at the Combine this weekend. I think he's way better. And, his pass-catching ability is only going to make his stock rise up that much more going into the NFL. At number 4, and this is another transfer, there's a lot of them, and you see that pattern on a lot of these guys have transferred. Caleb Williams, Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, Jamar Gibbs. This guy is too. Zach Evans. He leaves TCU, goes to Ole Miss, and I think this is a step up for him as well. A new start, a fresh start may just be what the doctor ordered for him, and his stock is on the rise, and for good reason. Another guy going in there playing for Lane Kiffin, in the SEC. I think it could do nothing but help him if he can stay healthy. That's the big if. He could definitely be a steal. If he's available in your drafts, get him while you can. Number 5, and this is a guy who's been kind of fading a little bit just because he's not really going to ever be known as a pass catcher, and that's Tank Bigsby, running back out of Auburn. He had entered the portal, decided to withdraw his name and stay at Auburn. Now, we can debate whether that was the right choice or not at this moment, but for him it was the right choice to stay, so he did. So I don't judge people. It's not my job. He wanted to stay. He stayed. He's going to be at Auburn. There we go. This Auburn team isn't what it once was, but if they can rely on him to do what he needs to do, and he's a very big, solid back, probably off the top of my head, one of the better runners in the whole landscape of college football. So, why shouldn't he be in the top 5 of your running backs to grab, either in your redrafts or in your startups? Moving to wide receiver, and number 1 for me has not changed, and it probably won't. I know the kid got hurt last year, and that sucked, but it's Kayshon Boutte from LSU, and we saw a little bit of what he was capable of, the year before last. When he came on there at the end of the season, we saw what that could be, and with good quarterback play and stuff, and him healthy. Look at you got Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. This could be another one of those guys that comes out of LSU and just has another phenomenal season, and it could be the next big thing going into the NFL. So he's my number 1 running back or wide receiver, and that's not going to change. Number 2, and this guy has shot up my list, shot way up from last year. He wasn't even really on my radar because there was so much talent and depth around him. And when he got drafted in our Devy draft last year, I was not really shocked that he got drafted, just because our Devy league is littered with Buckeye fans, and you take a chance if you we have 10 guys, so you take a chance. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, holy crap, did that guy just blow up and show up in college football last year. And he was drafted late by Brian Wickham, and after the season was over, the college season, I text Brian and I'm like, man, I said, you hit a home run with him. I mean, that was a great get, and now he's taken in our leagues and probably taken in most leagues. But if you're redrafting and he's available to you, man, he's got to be your number one or number two wide receiver off the board. And yes, that hurts me coming from Ohio State. It hurts and it sucks to talk good about these Ohio State players, but you've got to recognize the talent and what they have there. And that is a very good football player in Jackson Smith and Jigba. And it can only translate to do good things into the NFL. The number 3 guy on my list is that Texas smoke I've been talking about for the past 20 minutes. Xavier Worthy. He's a true sophomore. He was a freshman last year, and he had a fantastic freshman season with crap quarterback play. Inconsistent quarterback play between Hudson Card and Casey Thompson, and he still balled out. I mean, this kid is legit, and I was able to pick him up in our College to Canton League in the free agent market, and he just, going into this year in that league, I think he's going to be my wide receiver 1 on my team. I don't think I have anybody ahead of him. Xavier Worthy is a stud at the wide receiver position. You give him Quinn Ewers, a solid quarterback, and they can still lean on Bijan Robinson. And another name I want to give you later down the line. He's also got Jordan Whittington still there too at the wide receiver position. So it's not like they just have that guy. But man, I love Xavier Worthy for Texas. Number 4, Jordan Addison from Pitt. He's the reigning Fred Biletnikoff winner in college football. And I know he lost Kenny Pickett. Okay, so this is a big if for him. But he doesn't really need a superstar quarterback to get him the ball. Just get him the ball and let him do what he does. It is going to be a little bit of a question mark because can he put up the numbers? Can he put up the volume? To keep himself relevant, in the ACC without Kenny Pickett. It is a chance. You're taking a chance, but it's a chance worth taking at a player that could really transfer moving on to the NFL. Number 5, Quentin Johnson, junior wide receiver from Texas Christian. This is the guy I know the absolute least about. Okay, I put on some film. I put on some stat lines. 6'4", 183. Little tall, little thin. Love the height. Could stand to gain a few pounds. Wouldn't hurt nothing. But I love his height. Transferring to the next level, he might need to put on, if he could put on 7 pounds and hit 200, maybe it's 193. Could be 193. 183, 193. Anyway, if he's 193 and hits 200, I'm going to love that. And he's got it all laid out for him right now. He's going to be the guy at Texas Christian. They're going to throw him the ball all the time. He's the number 1 read. He's probably the number 2 read. And then they'll go someplace else. But he should have a very big season coming out. I think he's only had, if I remember, I don't have the numbers in front of me, I think he's got 11 touchdowns in 2 seasons. But if he could put 11 touchdowns on the board in 1 season and solidify him, for the next level, Quentin Johnson could be a very good steal late in Devy drafts and really transfer it for you into the NFL with the right team, the right placement, and the right timing, and the stars aligning properly. So there it is. There's my top 15 guys to go after in Devy. Now, whether they're available for you or not, I can't say. But those guys right there should be on your list of who to go hit. Okay? But wait, there's more. Part 2 of the podcast, I have 10 more names you need to know. Not to mention 7 more rapid-fire names I'm going to throw at you And these guys aren't just dart throws. Okay, these are names that could really transfer for you to the NFL from the college world. And as a bonus, I've got the top 2 tight ends I'm going to throw at you, just as names. I'm going to do that right now and get them out of the way. But the top 2 tight ends, we don't run tight ends in our Devy League, but some of you might. So if you're doing startups and you have tight end slots in your Devy League, you want Brock Bowers from Georgia and Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. Those are the top 2 college tight ends that I can give you. Okay, college tight ends are so, I don't want to be mean, but they're so unpredictable because you just don't know. But these guys should translate for you if you're patient and you give them enough time and you have taxi spots, because it takes tight ends a couple years to acclimate unless you're Pitts from Florida. He had a pretty good rookie year. But if you have tight ends and you're in a redraft or a startup, either one of those guys are available, and you're looking for somebody, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are 2 really solid names that you can bank on from the tight end position. Okay, 10 names to know, and we're going to start moving a little bit quicker here because we're about 40 minutes in now. No particular order, really, but maybe a little bit. I'm going to start with Tyler Van Dyke, and if you can handle cocky, arrogant quarterbacks, then this guy might be for you. Okay, because he's got them both. He's got cocky, he's got arrogant, and he's got confidence, and he's got it all in his hip pocket. But why not? Look what he did last year. He came out from Miami when De'Aaron King got hurt. Okay, he came in, took over, and that team was a different team. That team was so bad. Watching Miami was like watching a really, really bad high school team for a long time. But when Van Dyke came in, and he was just a freshman, so if you're gonna put him on your team, you're gonna be holding him for a while. But Van Dyke sparked that team, and there was a whole different team when he became the quarterback for the Hurricanes. He carried that team. What does that tell you? That tells you he's a leader. Yes, he's cocky. Yes, he's arrogant. But you can't deny what he did on the football field. He put up so he didn't have to shut up. And, that's a guy you should look for. Number 2 on my list, this is the other quarterback I got for you, Will Rogers from Mississippi State. And if you know anything about the Mike Leach offense, these guys throw for tons and tons of yards. Gardner Minshew, look what he did in college. Tons and tons of yards in that air raid offense. He is going to put up staggering numbers. The one thing that we want to rely on here with Will Rogers is this is going to be his second year in that system. Second year as a starter in this offense. And he really took off last year. He really took off. Now, throwing the ball all the time in college, to me, it prepares you for throwing the ball in the NFL because you've made about every throw you can possibly make in your route tree. Okay, you've thrown to all different outlets, wide receivers, tight ends, backs, whatever. Throwing the ball deep, throwing the ball short. He's got good size, and I like this guy as a deep play on a Devy team. Next up, L.J. Johnson, Texas A&M, and this guy's going to be taking over for Isaiah Spiller. And yes, I still have Devon Achane. I love Devon Achane. I don't love Devon Achane as a Devy player. I love Devon Achane as a college fantasy player because he runs like a 3.8. He is so super fast. Obviously, 3.8's not right, but you get my point. He is so fast. But I don't know how he is going to translate to the NFL. L.J. Johnson, to me, is going to step in and take over for Isaiah Spiller. And to me, that means, what does that mean? That means NFL-type plays he'll be running. Up the middle, he'll be running, the plays that you need to run to get you in the NFL. Okay, the flash plays and the scat back plays and stuff like that are only good 2 or 3 weeks out of the year for you in fantasy once you hit the NFL. So don't get me wrong, I love Devon A-Chain. He's just not going to be talked about in Devy. You want to come at me with college football, and he's probably going to be one of my top 5 or 6 guys. Because if he gets out in open space and on special teams, see ya. You're not catching him. That dude can fly. But I love L.J. Johnson stepping in, taking over the space for Isaiah Spiller. He's a name to go after for you in your Devy dress. Next up, Donovan Edwards from Michigan, and I got this guy a little bit ahead of Blake Corum as far as Devy goes because of size. He's a bigger back, and I think he may translate a little bit better, in the NFL game. And once again, kind of like Devon A-Chain, I love Corum in college. I'm not sure what we're looking at next level, though. So I like Donovan Edwards, and I like Donovan Edwards better than a guy who hasn't even really made my list, and that's Will Shipley. I like Edwards better than him. And another guy that I'm trying to think of off the top of my head, but I can't really think of it. But I like him. I like Donovan Edwards a lot. He should be really, really good pick for you if you want to take him. And do some research on these guys. Listen to other podcasts. Listen to what they say. Reach out to me on Twitter at Hateful Hitman. Reach out to other people. I found the one thing, if people make podcasts and stuff on Twitter and you ask them a question, they're going to answer it because they want the interaction. That's what they're doing podcasts for in the first place, is to put out their opinion. So, you also got to think that Haskins is gone. So there's going to be more carries, and it's probably going to be a little bit of split time for sure. So don't get discouraged in that. But I like the play long-term for Edwards in the NFL. Next up on my list is another one of those smoke guys from Texas, and that's Jaden Blue. And he's going to be a hold, obviously. He's going to be behind Bijan Robinson this year. He will get some playing time because Bijan can't play every down. He's going to get some play. But if you're looking for a guy to stash and you're beating next year's draft, or if you have free agency or whatever in your Devy pools, he's a guy to stash on one of your teams if you've got the space. I know some of our guys in our league lost 6 guys to the NFL, so they're going to have 6 people to pick up. So this guy right here is worth taking a shot on. I like him. He is younger, of course, but he's got a lot of what you want to see, and I've only seen it in small doses. Obviously, there's not a lot of film on this guy because it's Bijan Robinson's the guy there in Texas, but it's worth if you're. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm trying to kind of like addition by subtraction, so to speak, in our Devy League. Okay, I have so much that I'm going to have to get rid of. I'm going to have to cut players on my Devy team in our Devy League to make room for what I got coming in. And so I'm trying to trade some of them so I get some value. So I get something without having to cut them. So I'm trying to trade them for either Devy picks or NFL picks. So I ain't got to outright just let these guys go. And so if you're in a situation like I am, where you're playing the longer game now, okay, because you got guys that are pumping in every year, okay, if I've got this guy and I can hold him for 2 or 3 seasons, and he's doing just fine in college, and like, okay, this guy's got an NFL career ahead of him, and I'm not losing anything, him just sitting there, on my Devy squad, I already got him. Hence Travion Henderson. I picked him up off of free agency last year in our Devy League, and before his stock went completely through the ceiling, and I got him as just a move. So he's on my team, and he's ready to go to I'll have him when he goes to the NFL. That's what Devy's all about, playing the long game. Okay, it's good for now, sure, but if you can build that depth and build those layers where you have 2 or 3 guys every year going into the league from your Devy squad, and you're just constantly, I talked to my friend Kane Harder about this a while back, if you're constantly just stocking the cupboard, okay, if you eat a can of ravioli, what do you got to do? You got to go buy another can of ravioli, right? If you use a can of Spam, you got to get more Spam. It's the same. It's no different. You're keeping the cupboard full. Okay? I lost a couple of quarterbacks this year, and Pickett and Howe on my Devy roster to the NFL. I'm going to look up to pick up a quarterback somewhere. Okay, just to replace them. It can be a freshman. I don't care. I'll hold him if I have to. I did it with Sam Howell. I've held Sam Howell since his freshman year on my Devy squad. So every year you're pumping guys into the NFL, but you also need to restock that cupboard. And if you want to, and you can restock with younger talent, and you're okay with holding them for a while, then that's the way to go. And I've won 3 championships in 4 years, going into year 5 of our Devy League by doing that very formula right there. I've won 3 titles in 4 years by just restocking my cupboard on the Devy end. I'm not even going to go down the list of players I got in the NFL, but it ain't even fair because I'm constantly just working my Devy squad. That's where Devy's won, folks. That's where your championships in Devy Leagues are won. Okay, because all the NFL talent's on teams. Okay, but if you're weak at wide receiver and you've got Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and Jackson Smith and Jigba all on your Devy team somewhere, they're all going to transfer into the NFL at some point, and it's going to stock you up. Then you got to refill it back up on your Devy squad. Devy is the roots of your NFL team. That's the secret. It's not really a secret. It's actually a pretty simple formula. Keep your Devy cupboard full, and it will translate for you in the NFL. We have a 3-round rookie draft in our NFL, on our NFL side. And, it's pretty depleted. Obviously, some of the rookies that weren't on our Devy squad, slide through the cracks last year. Trey Lance was available and stuff like that. But, so there's not a lot of talent there for the 3-round draft. Okay? But we do IDP, so there's a lot of defensive players available. So you see a lot of defensive guys going in our 3-round NFL draft. But most of our work is done on the Devy side. And that's where it's at. At least that's how it's worked for me. It may be different for you. I don't know how it could be much different. But that's the formula that I've banked on since we started our Devy League. And it's worked out great. Sean Tucker, sophomore running back for Syracuse. This kid took the world by storm last year, took the conference by storm. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He gets out in open field, and he's just gone. The only problem that I have, and this hurts me to say because I'm an ACC guy, I don't know about the level of competition because FSU shut him down with a really good defense. I think Louisville shut him down a little bit with a decent defense. So I really want this year to see what Sean Tucker can do. Keep in mind, he was only a freshman. So he's only going to get better. It's another guy you're stashing. If you're able to, these are names that are going to be available to you. Okay, these are our 10 names to know that are very possible going to be available to you in your redraft of your Devy leagues. Not just startups. Startups, you're not really worrying about these guys right now. You're worrying about the guys at the first part of the podcast that are the hot commodities coming off to build your Devy squad going into the NFL. These are the names of what's now available to you deep in your drafts and also in redraft. I have 6A and 6B because I could not go without talking about Rashad Ali. Redshirt sophomore running back out of Marshall. Love his size. 23 touchdowns last year, 6 foot, 200 pounds out of Marshall. Ran all over Conference USA in his second year. His first 4 years as a starter, second year in the program, his third year going now into Marshall. And Sean Cowles had him on his College to Canton League, won a championship with him. Basically him and there was a couple other guys that rode that guy to a college championship for him. And Ali is a guy that late in drafts I'm targeting heavily just because I want to see what he does this year and how it translates into the NFL. He's got the size already. Okay, 6 foot, 200 pounds. I love that as a running back. So that's a name that I'm really, really high on. Parker Washington, wide receiver for Penn State, and Jahan Dotson's gone, so it's next man up. Okay, this guy's going to be the bell cow at the wide receiver position for the Nittany Lions, and he's got good size. I still not sure about his hands yet. I still have more to do on how well he catches the ball, but he's a guy that, and especially in redraft leagues, deeper leagues, you're going to want to take a shot on him and this next guy, Mario Williams, wide receiver, USC, and many put this guy in as one of the top 5 or 7 or 10 wide receivers, in the country. He transferred from Oklahoma to USC. He left with the coach and the quarterback. So there's familiarity there with the system, with the coaches and the quarterback and stuff. So I look for him to have a big season. Number 9, Josh Downs, UNC. Sam Howell's gone. Or he'd probably be a little bit more talked about. Okay, Sam Howell left, go to the NFL. I'm not sure how it's going to translate for Josh Downs. The same could be said for Jordan Addison there at Pitt. I like Addison a lot better, obviously, athleticism. And, he was the Biletnikoff winner, for a reason. But Josh Downs is another great pick to hold and see where he goes in the NFL draft. I would love to see what he does at the Combine. And I expect another good year for Josh Downs at North Carolina, all hinging on good quarterback play. Number 10, and this one here is you could put any guy, really, any of these wide receivers from Ohio State in here and be fun. I'm going with Marvin Harrison Jr. as my 10th name to know in this segment. Obviously, the bloodline, Hall of Fame father at the position. This guy is at Ohio State. They then lost Olave, and they lost Garrett Wilson. So you got Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison catching the ball from C.J. Stroud. Okay, that's all I need to say right there. Okay, there's your opportunity. There's your volume. And he should have a fantastic season, and he is definitely worth a pick in Devy. Okay, here we go. 7 rapid-fire names. I'm going to throw them at you just so you can write them down. Okay, that if all else fails and you're looking for quarterbacks or wide receivers or whatever, and you can cut them later or whatever if it doesn't work out. But here we go. 7 rapid-fire names. Ready? Spencer Rattler, South Carolina. It didn't work out for him in Oklahoma. He moved to South Carolina. Maybe it works. New conference, new team. Maybe it works for him. I don't know what happened at Oklahoma. It was weird. Hendon Hooker, Tennessee, transfer from Virginia Tech. Had a fantastic season last year for the Volunteers. He can run. He can throw. He's a big quarterback. I think he translates well to the NFL. Love that he came back, and I really want to see what he does this year for the Volunteers. Sam Hartman, Wake Forest. I think he is a sophomore this year. Look what he did last year for the Demon Deacons. Okay, they was among one of the best teams in the ACC last year, all because of Hartman's quarterback play. Love that kid. He's got a great wide receiver in A.T. Perry to throw to, and I really love this kid. The sky's the limit for him. Really looking forward to seeing what he does at this level. Javonte Citizen from Miami. The only thing I got about that is he's got Jalen Knighton and him. Okay, I don't know who's going to take over and be that guy. If one guy takes over the position, the other guy may be the odd man out. One of them may leave or whatever, or we may just fade into the dust and never hear from one of them again. Jalen Knighton was a high recruited running back, was committed to Florida State, decommitted when Taggart left, went to Miami, and you can see this talent last year on the field from Miami. Really good running back. I love Javonte Citizen's potential if he gets to play. Lou Nichols, Central Michigan. This is a running back that came up out of nowhere last year, okay, and had a fantastic season. I actually went and told one of our guys in our Devy League because I was out of moves. I said, go pick him up. Pick him up as a stash for you and just to see how it works out, see how it plays out. Lou Nichols, running back, Central Michigan. Number 6, Raheem Jarrett, Maryland. I think the quarterback play hurts Raheem Jarrett at Maryland, or he's a little bit higher up on my list. He would be in probably the top 10 wide receivers in college. I want to see more from him. I want to hear that he is just blowing up, people that Maryland plays. And same with this guy. Number 7 in my rapid fire, Zay Flowers, Boston College. He was clearly a diamond in the rough for the Eagles last year. But when they lost Jerkovic at quarterback, it hurt him. Jerkovic came back at the end of the season, and like a flower, he rebloomed. See what I did there? I really like this kid, and I really want to see what he does this year. And I watch the ACC constantly, and I really want to see what Zay Flowers does if he's able to put that back, because Jerkovic's back with Boston College. So he's got his quarterback there, and if he can put up big numbers and do some big things again for a second season with the Eagles, this guy could make it and translate into NFL and land on a team somewhere. All right, talked to you guys about the tight end. That was my 7 rapid fire guys. You can go back, you can get the list however you want to do it. That was cool. I enjoyed doing that. That was fun. I enjoyed being back behind the mic. Check me out on Twitter at Hateful Hitman. Let me know what you think, and we'll see what we got coming up next week. I'll put something together and we'll go from there. Season 5 kicks off with a bang. My name is Chris Strasbaugh. You can find me on Twitter at Hateful Hitman. You can find the show anywhere you find podcasts. And that's about everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. Stitcher, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. It's all over the place. Let me know what you think. Our Devy draft's coming up real soon. Have a great week. See you next time on The Hitman Show.